Hello, everybody. Welcome to Latinos in Clinical Research. Today, our special guest is Carolina. She is a scientist from Seniors Health, and she has a very, very interesting story to tell us. And I think it's actually quite motivating and encouraging. All right, Carolina. So, thank you for being here with us today and for sharing with us your story and obviously being open about your career and with the Latinos in Clinical Research. So thank you very much. So I would love to hear your story and how did you start? Why did you end up in research? And that's all.
Hi, Monica. Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you everyone for being here. I'm really excited to share my story. Just a little bit of my background. I'm originally from Colombia. I did my undergrad in Colombia. I studied biology, and after doing some research back in Colombia, that's when I moved to the States to do my PhD. I have a PhD in genetics, and then I have always been really interested in clinical research. Like cancer research is my passion. That's it has started back when I was a kid, back when I was trying to realize why your cells heal, why I had scars when I fall out of a tree or out of my bike. I really loved that. Biology was always like in my veins, it's in my passion. And so I went to biology and I went to research since then. I knew I always wanted to do so and be more involved in clinical trials. So when I did my PhD, I was really involved in the molecular, right? Going into understanding molecular levels, cellular levels of biology, how cells work, how cancer cells work, why do we develop cancer. But I wanted to see it. I wanted to see that translation into the humans and what we can do to improve people's lives. So I went more into clinical trials, and that's how I transitioned into industry, and that's my role here as a medical scientist in Seniors Health.
Wow. So, okay, so you mentioned that you always wanted to be in research, but how did you find out about research?
Um, I think it's so back in undergrad. So when in Colombia is really different, right? So when you go to undergrad, you go for a career. It's not like here when I think I don't understand much of the undergrad here in the States, but I know that you take some classes, you in the middle of your career you choose a path, and then in there you since the beginning, since you apply, since you are out of high school, you need to choose what do you want to study. You need to know it. You are going for chemical engineering, you're going for electrical engineering, you're going for chemistry. So I went to biology, and since there, when you had your classes, you couldn't be involved in research. So I was involved in some research groups back in there. And also, when you go into a science career, you have to do like a thesis, like very similar to what you do with your PhD. You have a project, you have to work with that project. So I was involved in a project, a cancer project, liver cancer research, since I was an undergrad.
Wow, that's very interesting. And why cancer?
I don't know. That's just passion again. It started when I was looking for why do I have scars, right? And it evolved. And then when there was one day when I was reading a paper and I was just like, oh, the mechanisms of cancer research or cancer development are the same than healing, than scars. And that's the reason. It's just cells that grow and they just don't stop growing and they don't die. That's what cancer is. And even when I did my PhD here, you have to rotate different labs, right? You have to do different research. And I tried the other areas. I tried cattle, research on cattle and population genetics, and other research in aging with with flies. That was the model to study was flies. And of course, I did some research in colon cancer, and I was just colon cancer. That's what I want. That's where my passion was. And one of my friends is like, I don't imagine you ever doing something different that is not cancer
Um,
research.
Wow. So that's since the beginning, that was it.
Yeah, it was definitely a thing, you know, like it's natural to me. So I really like it.
Okay. And okay, so when we were talking off camera, you were mentioning that you the universities and everything, your path since you started in Colombia. I would like you to share a little bit about it and how did you ended up in United States?
Yeah, so well, there are so okay, universities in Colombia, right? We economies are different. Well, similar to here, you go to public universities, right? When you have the opportunity, you go to a public university. So there were two big universities in the area. So I am from Cucuta. I used to say it was a small town. I used to say I'm coming from this small town in the border with Venezuela. It's not that small, really. I used to have the numbers of what is the population, but there's like millions of people in there. And let me just stop there with there was millions of people in the city where I'm coming from. But so there's these two big universities in that area. One is Universidad Industrial de Santander, which is industrial university of the area, and then the other one is Universidad Nacional de Colombia, so the biggest um, university in Colombia, of public universities in Colombia. And I had the opportunity to go to both, and I chose La Nacional because it was the biggest university. Like if you are from Colombia, you know that if you have the opportunity to go there, you just go there. And
Let me
so that's
interrupt you there. I'm
yes.
Colombian and going to that university is a big deal. It's not just going to any university, it's a big deal for us because it's the best university in the whole country and probably one of the best in South America.
So it was a big opportunity. It was a big decision because I mean it was still away from my family. Also, something that is different when you are in Colombia is you graduate out of high school when you're 16. So you go after you're 16 years old, you leave your house, you go to college in another country, which is the capital in Colombia, another city, sorry. You go there, and it was a big change to me just to leave my house and the comfort of my family. Um, and then, so doing research there, my brother went to the other university. He is 9 years older, so he has gone through this path before. So he had gone through this other university, and in that university, there was some kind of partnership with Texas A&M. So the engineering program in the WIS, they had this partnership to bring students from Colombia to Texas A&M to complete some internships or to do their PhD. So he knew Texas A&M, and he was like, "Okay, you need to come. These are great opportunities. You need to do your PhD." And I was involved in clinical research. I was involved in research by then. I had graduated college. I was doing a small program with some sponsorship from the government in Colombia, and I was applying to my master's degree in Colombia. And I was approved to get my master's, but again, masters are not sponsored, so you really needed to get like an additional loan to be able to pursue your master program. So I did okay. Well, let's apply to this PhD and see what happens. So I apply in Texas A&M, and I got accepted.
Wow, but okay, so my question is like anyone, like for example in Colombia or anywhere in the world, let's say in Latin America, would like to apply, or actually in the world, would like to apply for a PhD in this university in Texas.
Hmm.
Uh,
Texas A&M.
is INM what's the process or how it what happens? I mean, how do you apply? It's open for everybody or it's just for
It is open for everybody, like their applications are open. Texas A&M is really known for all the international students they have in their graduate programs. Actually, it is, so they're very welcoming, and they actually take into consideration these international applications. So that was look good. I did have like the opportunity to come, right, because my brother was in Texas, in College Station at the time. So he was like, just come and visit me and go and talk to some of the professors there. Just email them, say like, hey, you're coming, you're gonna be in town. Can you just go and talk to them? And that's what I did. So I came visit, and well, I applied, made my application online, just normal, took the TOEFL, the GRE, put all my submissions in there. And I went to talk to some of the professors, told them I was applying, and they like it. So they called me for like an interview, and it was online, and then I got accepted after that.
Wow, but
But
is it hard? I mean, what is what are the requirements?
ooh, okay. Well, the requirements, like even like just now that I'm more prepared, like now that I have been there, and that I know, right? Really, they're having some research experience, but I know there is people that get accepted just out of their college degree, like they, as long as they have some type of involvement in research. So even in Texas A&M and their undergrad programs, we had undergrads helping with our projects, right? So these same undergrads, some of them even applied to their PhD there because they had some type of experience working with us. So they do require, well, I mean, the TOEFL for international students, they have their 70 or plus points in the TOEFL. And your GRE, that I don't remember the numbers, but you just have to pass, which GRE is for nationals or international peoples that apply to graduate programs. So, and just your cover letter, just your essay, that's very standard for your PhD applications.
Okay, so this is you mentioned the students that recently graduate with certain involvement in research, and then how about, for example, people that finished their undergraduate a long time ago, but they have a lot of experience in research and want to do the PhD?
I do know, and there was several people that will come back later, like after having some experience, after going to industry, or after going just to do something else, and then just wanted to come back. I think it's more about your interest, right? There is a lot of character too in your interviews. Like they really look at you and see if you are able to stick to a 5-year research project, because it can be really tough. Like it can be really depressing. Your experiments are not going in the way you want them to go. Your professors are telling you that this is not going. You have your prelims, so it's a lot of studying, a lot of the same classes. You're taking your classes while you are still working towards a project, right?
They
So
basically looking at your determination.
Yeah.
yes, yes, your determination, your character to survive 5 years of a lot of downs, some ups, but mostly downs. So yeah, so that is definitely, it's just they kind of look at you, and they have different people that interview you. It's like the same interview process. They will tell you, how are you doing, what do you do if there is an issue in your career, what do you do when to handle some challenges when projects don't go in the way you want them to go.
So basically, you
Wow.
need to show also, besides your determination, your passion for
Mhm.
that, right? Because, wow, amazing. But okay, so once you start your PhD, that obviously, I mean, what happened there?
Well, there was a lot, and then I mean, the PhD was like, I don't want to go and bore you into the research, right? That is just really deep molecular studies.
One moment. Can everybody please turn off?
Oh, sorry, Ashley, I mute you. I was muting everybody and I mute you. Oh, okay, okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you, Carolina.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Oop,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Adriana
they
Clay,
do.
can you please turn off your microphone? Monica, you may have to kick her out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Adriana. If you want to come back on, please mute your microphone.
Okay.
There you go. Awesome. Awesome. Sorry about that, Carolina. Appreciate
No,
it.
that's okay. So yeah, well, so after the PhD, right? During the PhD, there is all the molecular, all my understanding from oncology, all my expertise in oncology. I think I got it there. I was involved with a lot of research, not only with my own project, but with several projects. The lab that I work with was really big. So we are, because I still feel that I'm part of that lab. They were really welcoming when I got in there. I was the first Hispanic, I will say, first Hispanic in that team. And
Yay, you
they're
give me thumbs.
yeah, it was really nice, but at the same time their support was really valuable, right? I knew some English, but my English wasn't, it's not even at the level that is now, or it wasn't like, I will maybe understand 30% of what people were telling me. I will tell every time yes, yes. They will talk to me and I'll say yes, and they were like, okay, I need to repeat to you because the yes is not answering my
Yeah.
question, you know. um it was, yeah, it was definitely challenging, and it was, their support was really valuable to me and my experience. They all speak English, so there was no chance, you know. A lot of people, when you come into new labs, a lot of international people will come to labs that speak their languages, right? Like my brother, for example, he came into a team that will speak Spanish, so he was surrounded by a lot of Hispanic people. There will be other people, or other people from China or other countries, or that they will surround, and they will join teams that speak their own languages. But the lab that I joined didn't. So, but they were really, really welcoming, and that was really great to me. But in there, I saw a lot of processes, right, within the university, like a lot of organizations that support Hispanic population, Hispanic students. So there was the Chicanos for Mexican students, or I also was part of the Women in Science organization, because I wanted to be more involved with these type of organizations that supported the minorities. When I moved into Texas, I realized minorities were a thing, and that the support, that we needed some type of support, because you feel sometimes that your experiences are not the same that the other people. So I wanted to be part of those organizations as a member, and then I turned into more the president of the Women in Science organization, and just to support these minorities in the ways I could.
That's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing that, Carolina. And apologies for coming on late, but I think that that's a huge highlight to make mention because I think just like you, this is not my particular story, but I know many students coming from a rural area on the border of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
My friend, for example, she actually went to Texas A&M and M, and she was part of Chicanos, and she went into business. But um, yeah, organizations aren't just there for support and mentorship. Sometimes they can also lead to jobs. They can lead to opportunities and so many, many, many things. And so I think that that's a great thing that you got to utilize those resources. Would you say that those resources actually kind of helped you jump into the industry, or do you feel that maybe getting into some of, like, I see that you're from University of Texas Health Science Center, did it help you get into that position, and ultimately from there were you able to kind of
I
gain
think
some?
I think the connections that I made, I think that's what helped me transition into industry, right? So the experience of being part of the organizations was really valuable, because I got to connect with different people from different backgrounds.
Mhm.
So once I passed from the PhD to postdoc, then with one of the contacts, when I was like, okay, I'm ready, I think I had done everything I can do in the academia, and now I want to do that transition to the industry. then that's when my contact me with somebody else that was in the industry, and they got my CV to the hiring manager, and he was like, yeah, let's interview. And then I did the interview, and now I'm here.
It's amazing. Yeah, I think it's networking is extremely underrated. I don't think people talk about it as often. I mean, you do hear it, but to emphasize it the way that I think in the Latino community it should be emphasized greatly, because I've known so many individuals that have amazing GPAs, even though I don't feel GPAs really say a whole lot, to be quite honest, for the industry, but amazing GPAs, they have a lot of background experience and all those kinds of things. However, sometimes when you're coming from a rural area, and there's not a lot of resources, and you're not used to having to be put into a group and coming out and speaking and actually making your voice heard, or actually just trying to communicate, we tend to fall in the background. We tend to not speak. We just tend to kind of listen and be a part of the crowd, which is fine. But for the most part, if you're wanting to make changes, if you're wanting to move forward, it's about putting yourself out there, and sometimes even in uncomfortable situations, and just taking a chance, right? And I think that you're a very perfect example of that, because you're coming from a whole other area. You came and spoke to you know, professors in a very well known, one of the top two universities in Texas, and you just went and spoke to them. I mean, me back then in college, I was scared of professors. I barely even, that's that I was from my area. So, you took a chance on yourself, and you knew what you wanted, and you went out there and you just
Well,
made it kind of happen.
I
And what
think
you said,
to put it a little bit in perspective, she did this. She came from she went in Colombia to the best university in Colombia, and she
Oh,
got admitted to the two best universities in Colombia. So
wow.
that tells you this is a smart cookie.
Yes, yes.
but but again, at the same time, it was challenging to do the transition into industry, as you say, right? Your GPA,
Yeah.
or how you put yourself out there. So the writing the CV, the putting, or just the resume, like changing your CV to your resume, that was really challenging. I'll put all the work I do with the animals, with the mice, and it's like that to a hiring manager, to a recruiter, that doesn't tell them anything.
Hmm.
That is not what they want to hear. They want to hear that you can do the job, that they like the keywords that they're looking for when they
Hmm.
are looking for a applicant, right, for the right person for that job description. So you need to make sure that you meet, or you put those keywords into your resume, so at least you can get that opportunity to talk to somebody. And then when you get the opportunity to talk to somebody, then you can show what you can do.
100%.
But I think that's definitely the first filter, is to be able to talk to somebody.
Yeah, 100%. I did want to ask a question. So I saw that first you were at the university as A&M, and then you jumped into preclinical and clinical project management
Mhm.
at the University of Texas Health Center. Usually what I find is that individuals that are coming from research from, universities or health centers, sometimes there's like for some reason, from what I've noticed, that there's like a barrier. It takes a long time for them to get into sponsor, sometimes even CRO, and that's what sponsors at an even higher level. And so what would you say was probably one of the key points that made you stand out specifically? Was it, your management aspect, or did it have to do with a little bit of your education, maybe certs that you took?
I think I think the opportunity was given, like, yes, it was the management. So even as a grad student, I had some project management experience, right? You take on your project, and I think again, the way how you express that to the people. I took on a project. I had some undergrads under my supervision, to help me through a lot of the personal or professional aspects of the project, right? So something in the personal aspect of myself is I was pregnant when I was trying to finish my PhD, and I wanted to finish my PhD before my kid was born. But that didn't happen because, again, all the ups and downs, right, that I was talking
Mhm.
about in your PhD. So that didn't happen, but I had the support of these undergrads. So during that time, I had created a group of, I think, 10 undergrads that had been with me since they were freshmen. So they were with me almost the 4 years of my PhD, and they continue, right? their involvement in the research was really good, and they were interested, and so they stay with there. And when I was pregnant, when I had to leave, they stayed there and they continue the project, of course under the supervision and everything, but they made it continue. So I didn't have to kind of stop everything and just say, okay, I'm gone, but they continue, and that also helped. So showing that to the high levels, right? Showing that in the University of Texas Health Science Center, showing them that I was able to take on a project, start, finish, even if I wasn't there, I think that helped a lot.
It's amazing. And I think that, going into the project management aspect, and I know we've spoken to you about this on the side, with you through Senios, but um, it's I think it's quite clear that there's a lot of need for diversity, right? And
Mhm.
in all areas of the industry, but even more so I think in sponsors, right? Because if anything's going to be moving forward, sponsors have to be, at that space to be able to start making those movements to trickle down. And so, like, as a Latina and in a sponsor and having all this background and understand, especially with, your path, right? How your journey. How do you feel? What's the how important do you feel it is that Latinos that not necessarily complacent, but that are comfortable where they're at in their position? What would you say to them that maybe consider trying to move forward or trying different things, or considering to go into management, so that they can have representation not just for them, not for their kids, but for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, those positions they're always available, and I think the time is right now where they will consider more the diversity that you bring as a Latino, right? There is a different perspective, no matter what, no matter your background. Just the fact that you're Latino, you're bringing a different perspective just because your experience is different, and that is a good asset. And I think companies are trying to understand that more and more. um, Not only Latinos that are in the States, which I know it's our main focus, but also Latinos that are in other countries, right? So we are moving the companies are moving into a more global um, business unit, and they are looking for these people. They're also outside of the States, are also in other countries that need to be those managers, right? That need to speak up, that they need to have or to bring this experience as a Latino. So just go for the positions, because now is the time to show that you have everything that you need to be in a managerial position.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think it's speaking with multiple CROs and sponsors, I think it's very clear that the focus is going into Latinos, especially coming in 2023, and we're actually very excited to
Yeah.
know that and hear that, right? Because it lets us know that our initiatives are doing something, but also on a global scale, people are starting to take notice on general, and it's extremely, extremely important. So if any of you here, have ever considered a higher role, but felt insuperior or anything like that, just understand that you have something to offer regardless of
Mhm.
your background. Everybody's unique, has their own individual thing that they can offer to these CROs and sponsors, and we need individuals like you to represent, right? Because ultimately it's everybody reaching out their hand and lifting somebody else up, right? And so hopefully, Carolina, if anybody has any interest, or if anybody is curious about how you moved forward through your pathway, they can definitely reach out to you. Obviously you're a very busy woman, so we know that you can't respond right away, but hopefully if anybody does hear this, either that's here today or later in the recording,
Yeah.
they'll get inspired by your story, because it really is an amazing story. And yeah, I'm very happy that you're here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
no,
actually, sorry, go
sorry,
ahead.
no, it's okay. No, and that what I mentioned, right, is the opportunities, is the networking. When I was a grad student, they will tell you networking, go talk to people, and that is really hard. That I will never go and talk to people or contact somebody in LinkedIn. I know it is hard, and sometimes can take you out of your bubble, out of your comfort zone, to be able to go and talk to somebody else. But if somebody wants to help you, or if somebody can talk to you about something, they will. Like, there are hundreds of opportunities. You just need to be a little bit persistent. Sometimes it takes more than one email, or more than one, because a lot of people emails you, right? So you can get a lot of texts through LinkedIn, or a lot of emails, and you can try to follow up, and you do it, and you follow up with them, and then you never hear back. So it's like, sometimes
Yeah.
it takes, sometimes it's kind of disappointing. But if you are really interested and you're really persistent, if you continue that conversation, and not only if you email me like, hey, I want to know more about seniors, that is great, I will say yes. But if you say like, look, I'm still starting my PhD, or I'm starting this career, can we talk in 2 years? He'll be like, yeah, that's okay too. Like, it doesn't matter if it's today or if it's tomorrow, or whenever you are ready to take that space. I had one person once contact me saying like, okay, I'm ready to do the transition, right? She was lab technician in one of the labs where I was like, I want to do the transition. It's like, okay, let's do it. And I put all the letters, everything in there, like, this is the opportunity, this is the job description, this is what you need to do. And then the person was like, oh, maybe later. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. And then 2 days later, I receive an email like, we are recruiting CRAs. We're recruiting 500 CRAs. This is the opportunity. And I'm like, look, you may think that it may be later, but I just received this email saying that they're going to hire 500. So I think this is your opportunity. If you want
Take a
to,
jump.
just apply now. Just because, yeah, like, I can give you the resources, but it's also up to the person to really apply and do the jump.
We actually have in our today on our members one Latina who happens to have her PhD, and she's been trying to get in your position. Her name is
Okay.
Mariana, so I'm sure she will reach out to you. You hear
Yes,
me,
yes.
Mariana? I put you in the spot.
Yeah,
At
thank you.
anytime, Mariana, just let me know, and we can get you in contact with some people.
100%. I did want, to let all the members here today, as well as those that listen to the recording later, we are working closely with Carolina and her team at Senios. We do hope sometime in 2023, in the early year, possibly, to bring some very good news to you. But we will be highlighting Carolina and her Latino BRG group within Senios, just so that you guys can get to know a little bit more about how the support for Latinos are internally at the company, right? Because those things are just as important. It's not just, we talk about it all the time, it's not just about your pathway and getting a job, but it's also making sure that the company that you're trying and or get into align well with you and actually support you, right? Not just employment wise, but also cultural wise, and even a lifestyle, health balance, and all of those kinds of things. So that is extremely important. Oops, sorry, Melissa.
Sorry.
If you, if you can please put it on mute, please. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I was saying, it's really really important that when you're applying to these jobs, that you also understand a lot about the company, because the way the company supports, especially your particular group, right, your population group, in this case Latinos, it says a lot about the company. And so that's going to be something we are going to be doing in the future, just FYI, so you guys keep your eyes out for those notices and those emails. But yeah, I look forward to bringing on your BRG group, Catalina, and kind of highlighting your team for
Yeah,
2023, and any things that you guys are going to be doing and all that good stuff.
that is actually an initiative that I love. I mean, Conexión, which is our Hispanic, it's an employee resource group. So it was an initiative. It started in 2022. So, and I am one of the co-leaders of the professional development committee, and it's exciting. It touches me personally. To me, the place where you work is your family, or is your second family, right? To me, my work is the time, or the time that I work is the time that I'm not spending with my family, right? I decide, and I am 100% towards growing as a professional, right? Like, I want to grow my professional career, and I decided that it goes hand to hand with my professional and my personal life, right? But as I tell to my managers, I tell the people, like, I need to feel that the company also supports me, because it's the time that I'm giving you is my personal time, is the time that I don't have with my family. So to me is that, to me is I need like the company to support me, professional but also personal. And the work that we are doing in the Hispanic community, I think, is really powerful. We are supporting not only Hispanic communities that are in the United States, but also the Hispanic in other countries. As I mentioned, right, it's not only how you feel, if you fit or no, in a country where mostly is like American and all white population, mostly all the jobs, that all the higher ranked jobs are held by the white people, but also how, well, the allies from the Hispanic people in the States, and also how Argentina or Brazil or South America, or people or Hispanic people that live in Europe, how do they feel about working for seniors? So I think all that job that we are doing is really great, and I'm looking forward to that highlighting to the
Awesome.
connection.
Yes, definitely. I am too. I did want, because I know we're getting closer towards the end of the session, but I really wanted to. We don't do this often, and I thought it was very important too, because I think you're very successful and also very young, and you have a family, and I wanted to definitely highlight how you feel being at your level, being at sponsorship level, and having a family, and how does that work life balance have, right? Because I'm at a CRO. I feel the strain sometimes, and I know sponsors level, it's a, it's a one tier up higher, and so you can only imagine the kind of workload and things like that. And so, and I know coming from, Latino Hispanic community, family for us is extremely important, and we, most of us have big families, right? And so how do you find the time, and how do you feel that that kind of balances with your work and your wanting to move forward with your career?
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely challenging at times, right? There are your deadlines that are there, and you need to meet no matter what, because sometimes that's the deadline. I think I have a really good support group, right? My husband and my kid, they're right now in the basement, so try not to bother up here, because if not, I have a 3-year-old running and wanted to come to the camera all the time. But um, but I think seniors also understands that. Like right now, I'm still like right now in these global times, I'm working with a team in England, and it's a little bit more challenging because the time zones, right? But I also see that themselves are also working hard. So sometimes at your 3 p.m., which is almost their 10 p.m., they're still working. So you see that it's a lot of commitment both ways. And I think that's what fits into how much commitment you put to your projects and to your, and again, this clinical research is my passion. I am 100% committed to a project going to change people's lives. I see how the research I'm doing, the work I'm doing, it is having a positive effect in people. And I think that's what motivates me to get up every day, to keep working. And when I see my kid, and then I try to still keep my 7 to 5, 7 to 3, depending on the times. I try to keep that as much as I can, be productive. I know the remote or working remote can be challenging because you get distracted, right? You have to cook lunch, you have to do these other things, you have to do other things. But I try to keep my hours like focused and do what you have to do in that way. After 3 or after 4, you can go and spend time with your kid.
For sure. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, it's a um speaking with about working with a team in England. I'm kind of in the same boat. It's not, it's there in Europe, and so it's a it can be difficult sometimes for sure. So, but given where you're at right now, where do you see yourself? I guess in the next 3 to 5 years, are you looking to go into a whole other department? Go more into the diversity focus, DEI?
Well, yeah, I I am definitely looking different perspectives. I love the job that I'm doing right now as medical scientist. Um, and I want to grow within the same department. But at the same time, now that I'm more involved with Conexión, um, I have opened in the same networking that we're talking. I have opened other doors, and the diversity, equity, and inclusion team initiative within Seniors is really big. So I am working with that team again, just on the side at the moment, but it has opened a different perspective that I don't know if
Speaking
I
your
will be.
interest.
Yes, again, my passion has been always research, and oncology research. So I may like try to move a little bit more towards that area because it's also really interested and it also touches something more personal. But I don't know. It's definitely in the goals.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I can see that. And so, kind of seeing your perspective, because I know that a lot of people, when they're looking, let's say when they're starting to enter into CRA, CRC, or things like that, they're always doing the kind of the same usual things, the certs, this and that, and focusing to that pathway. But I always think it's interesting when somebody that's already been in the industry for a while, um, how they choose to maneuver when they want to move up in position. So
Mhm,
considering that, let's say, for example, you do go into DEI,
mhm.
aside from the conexión and working towards what y'all are doing, do you feel that you would try to do some other things on the side to kind of enhance that, um, I guess, enhance your resume in the sense to show that you are for those types of positions, like, I guess you could say strategic movement? Is there anything in particular that you would work on?
Yeah, I mean, there was so in one of those things it was the mentoring program, right? So I did participate in one of the mentoring programs to look for those opportunities. Like, how do you do those maneuvers? How do you transition? I have seen that, like, and something that is clear is like, so my day job, right? My day job is only data. I look at clinical data all day. I do not look into patient like the into Hispanic population. So that's my side job, and that's what you're talking about, right? That side move, that side job that you can be doing. And so when I talked to one of the people within seniors about being part of this DNI, and it was like, yeah, and there's opportunities, and that it will be like, and it can be vertical movement, right? Because it will be another position in a higher level. But I found what I wanted to find was something. What I wanted to find was something that will still give me the opportunity to be linked to the medical monitoring area, and I think I found it. So right now, I think I still found a way to maybe do that jump or start working towards that jump and stay in the medical monitoring area because I still like what I'm doing as my daytime job. So I wanted to find that connection, that link to keep both works or both worlds connected.
That's
Oh, I can't
great.
wait to see you in that
Yeah.
position. I
Excited.
cannot wait.
Yes, and for those that don't know, inside CROs and sponsors, you also have, aside from the ECRG, the ERGs or CRGs, these groups, you also have opportunities for mentoring, not just within the positions you want, but also in upper management, right? Things that you can apply to be considered and stuff like that. So the learning doesn't stop. You're always moving up if you want that opportunity, right? But I'm so happy to hear that, Catalina. That's great. I would love more than anything for you to be a part of that department in Senios, and you know, we can keep that connection and make
and
change
then
together.
and then one day we see it in one of our protocols,
Oh
Carolina.
yeah. Yeah, that would be great.
No,
That
that
would
will
be,
be
oh
really
my
great.
gosh,
I'm really
I
excited.
know here. Carolina, I wanted to ask you something. When you were doing your PhD and you start working, so how was that process for you? Like I know you already mentioned how did you apply for those job opportunities, but from the PhD to transfer to the actual job, being a student, international student, how it was that?
Okay, yes. So I did have, so after your PhD, so I came with an F1 visa, right? An international visa, F1 international visa. And then after you graduate, you have up to 3 years that you can work on a STEM field. So originally, I took the opportunity of that with my OPT for the first year that I was working. Um, and then you can have those 3 years, and that will give you opportunity to transition like in an industry or sponsor like Cineos or academia or other universities, because you don't need a sponsorship. You have already your sponsorship. Is they need to send maybe some letters saying that yes, you have been meeting the requirements, that you are working for that company, but it's not the same thing than sponsorship. At the end of the 3 years, you do really need to do something else. I did have my green card at the time after the 3 years, so I don't need any more the sponsorship of a company. Um, so I didn't have to deal with that part. If it's the sponsorship that what we're asking for, I did not have to deal with that second, having to find a company to sponsor me. I think it is really challenging though. Because every time you submit an application, originally when I used to click like yes, I need a sponsorship, or at some point I will need a sponsorship, I think you will receive less calls or less times to interview than when you do have already some type of work. When I used to do my CV, I will put like I have sponsorship for 3 years, or I'm available to work up to 3 years under this category. I think that is important. um
Okay, so but let's say, for example, having that opportunity to work for 3 years,
mhm.
working in a company, they get to know you. Maybe it's bigger chances for you to get the sponsorship through them that not having that opportunity. So doing
Exactly.
the PhD actually was a really good bridge for you to break into the industry, or well, not the industry, but in research,
Mhm.
in the working space. Let's call it that way.
Yes, yes. I think that's the intent of, if we go to political or government, I think that is the intent, right? That you have the opportunity to show the company that you are valuable. So they give you those 3 years. And if you stay with the company 3 years, I am sure the company will say, yes, we're not going to let you go. Let's do something, right? So when you have that opportunity, that was really valuable, because that gave me that step, right? That put the foot on the door, and give me opportunity to keep working. Although this is really stressful, of course, to go through immigration, trying to have the work authorization on time, trying to have your renewal every year, every 6 months, that the paperwork are in there on time. I think that is really stressful and adds a layer to everything you're going through.
But I think in research right now, because of the need for diversity, it makes it a little bit easier. And we actually, in fact, interviewed not so long ago a lawyer that she was talking that people that are applying for, in research have a little bit more. It's a little bit easier than maybe other industries. Obviously, this is not immigration advice, just to mention it. Um, but it's interesting that the opportunities that we have. I mean, through organizations or through companies or through universities and programs such as the Texas University, which is great.
Awesome. Well, we are getting to pretty much 10 minutes beforehand, and I did want to thank you so much again, Carolina, for coming here today. We appreciate it. We know that it's towards the end of the year, and CROs and sponsors at the moment, in general, sites everywhere. It's a little bit crazy right now, trying to get ready for the end of the year. Um, Carol Flores, thank you so much. She said it's an amazing story. Congratulations. So yes, you guys,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for all those who will be watching later. If you want to connect with Carolina, please feel free to reach out to her. Please remember that next year in 2023, we will be highlighting her and her organization, Conexión with Encinios. So keep a lookout for that. And also, again, just a reminder at the end of the year, you guys, so this is our last live webinar until 2023. So big happy holidays to everybody. Everybody stay safe. Wish you all the best. And that's pretty much everything. Monica, unless you have anything you want to add.
Yeah, before we leave, I don't know if anybody wants to add something to
Oh yes, I'm so sorry.
Carolina. I'm sure that Diana maybe have a question for Carolina.
So sorry, you guys. Yes.
Diana or maybe Mariana. I put both of them in the spot. I'm sure they were going to connect with you in the future. We
Hi,
are both
yes.
Latinas. Hola, Diana.
Hi, thank you, Monica. Well, I would like to know how we can like continue in a company, in research company, phase one, continue growing. I'm a research assistant, and I would like to go up, like being a CSM or a project manager. Which is the path you recommend?
Well, I think it's always about, well, I mean, at least in my own experience, it's connecting with those upper level, right? If you want to be a coordinator, like if the research assistant, if you want to be a coordinator research assistant or manager research assistant, you have to talk to somebody in that level and tell them, okay. And it depends on each company. I'm sure it always going to depend on the company and what do you want to do and how. Maybe you start moving, right? Maybe you start having a first you're going to have another research assistant, another research person that is going to be there initially, and then you can body that person or you can mentor that person initially and then keep growing. But I think that is up to each company depending on the process of every company.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
We have another question. Is the opportunity for an IMG in the medical scientist field among clinical research?
Yes, there is always, I mean, if we're talking about medical scientists, so IMGs will be
International medical graduates.
okay. Yes, then definitely that's definitely a yes. I have known a lot of medical. So normally in the medical scientist field, the medical monitoring, we have our medical directors, right? So we are the medical scientists, which are a little bit more focused on the data, and then we have the medical directors that are focused on that medical aspect. But I have seen a lot of international medical graduates being medical scientists, right? And then moving up to the medical director. So medical directors will always have that medical background, the medical doctors. But if you start as a medical scientist and you have a medical background from other countries, then you can have a mentor, a medical director mentor, and then you can grow into being that medical director position. So there is a great opportunity for that for international medical graduates, and that's a great opportunity to start and to just get there to the medical director position because that's what you want. You have all the background, you have the medical expertise. So
Carolina, I think your LinkedIn is gonna be cluttered.
Oh yeah.
We have a lot of IMGs.
okay, yes, no, but that is a great opportunity because I have seen it. I have seen a lot of doctors, right, medical doctors that start as a medical scientist, but then they get the opportunity to move into medical directors because they have the background.
That's excellent. That's excellent to hear. And yeah, well, thank you very much, Carolina, for sharing with us all that information. Thank you, everybody, for being here and get in contact with Carolina. She's on LinkedIn. We're going. Is that okay if we share your LinkedIn?
Yes,
Actually, I
yes, that's
think
it.
it's already been shared.
Yes.
Your
No, and thank you,
LinkedIn.
Monica, and thank you,
Yeah.
Ashley, for the opportunity to be here. This is great. I'm just available to support anybody. I think the networking is really important. I think these type of events are really important. When you can get to at least one person, that is always what you need.
Yeah, thank you very
100%.
much for
Thank
being
you.
available. And
Yes.
this is not gonna be the first time, so prepare for the next time with Carolina to ask more questions and being ready for the available for this next webinar.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you
Thank
all
you
and
guys. Thank you,
happy
Carolina.
holidays.
Happy
Thank you,
holidays,
everyone.
everybody.
Yeah,
Happy
thank
holidays.
you.
Thank you.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz
Feliz
Navidad.
Navidad.